Hey everybody, it's Jim here, and it's Friday, which means we're going over a brand new guitar, and today is one I am extra excited about because it's not one I would have normally purchased. It's a little out of character. I already had it out of the box. This is the gig bag. I think you know what it is based on the thumbnail, but let's have a look. This is an ESP LTD Eclipse 87 NT. Gorgeous turquoise with the black binding on it. Love that touch. Can't wait to get this on the bench and have a closer look. Alright, let's start with what else you get besides the guitar. You get an ESP 45th anniversary sticker. That's cool. Same thing with a very nice polishing cloth. Get some Allen keys or hex wrenches depending on where you are in the world. One of them is for the truss rod, which is very nicely placed up here for easy access towards the top of the neck. The other one is for the stop tail piece and the bridge. Now these are Tone Pros, which means they're locking, so you don't have to worry about when you're changing strings. One thing that kind of sucks with an old Les Paul that has a traditional kind of stop tail, when you're taking the strings off, if you don't forget to do it, if you don't forget to hold it rather, this will fall and kind of smash its way down on the body itself. By locking it into place, it's really reliable as far as keeping it set up the way you like it, keeping your action the way you like it, and then if there are any issues, you know it's definitely in the neck, and it could be something that could be adjusted via the truss rod. Moving on to the pickups, you have a 59 Seymour Duncan in the neck, and you have a JB in the bridge. These have a push-pull pot right there on it. This thing is absolutely pretty much loaded minus stainless steel frets, which now for every EC 1000 model and up here forward come with those as standard. And it's worth repeating, one thing I love about the aesthetic about this guitar, outside of the color being simply outrageous in the best possible way, I love the black binding on this, and as you can see, this has a tummy cut, so it's a lot more modern in terms of a Telecaster in that sense. This is a very comfortable guitar as far as how it's designed ergonomically. And we already talked about the push-pull pot right here, but the rest of the controls here, you have a universal volume. This also acts as the tone, a three-way toggle switch, and that, see, that's good. That's not moving too much. That means it's a pretty decent component right there. You'll love to see that. Okay, now we're at the neck of the guitar, and this is where things get really interesting for a multitude of reasons. First of all, you have this extremely sharp, traditional, weapon-looking headstock. It's not something I would normally go for, but it has LTD branded locking tuners on it. You have a neck through construction here. Now the scale length of this guitar is not typical of a Telecaster. This is 24 3/4. So the fact that this has 24 medium jumbo frets on it and the scale length, I'm interested to see how it's going to feel, how much room I feel like I have, because I don't have the biggest hands, but it feels like these are really close together once you start getting past kind of the 17th fret on upwards. But as far as the frets themselves go, let's test them, see how level they are. Alright, well, color me impressed because these are amazingly level. Great job, and it's more kind of going towards that old adage right now that Indonesia is the new Japan, so to speak, with how high quality for a low relative cost you are paying to get such high craftsmanship on it. I figured I might as well show you a little bit more on the back of the headstock here. So it has the reissue 87 ESP stamp on it, made in Indonesia with the serial number, and a good look at the LTD branded locking tuners. Alright, now that we've had a closer look at this guitar, I am very, very impressed indeed with the quality and the craftsmanship that went into building this. The ESP and LTD have a very, very good reputation when it comes to their quality control, and this one is seemingly no different. I'm excited to try this, and it really is such a mash of a few things. Yeah, it's a Telecaster body, but you got a really nice neck through that actually looks like it's going to be functional. It's got a good weight to it, traditional kind of Gibson scale length. I'm ready to play it. Let's hear what it sounds like. I've always been of the belief that depending on the guitar you're playing, even if it's through the same rig, it can kind of guide you or encourage you to play in a certain way that you might not normally play in. Yes, I tried to throw in some of the traditional stuff that I would normally kind of play on this kind of channel for demos, and I also wanted to throw in some of the obligatory really high gain stuff I wouldn't normally throw in. But overall, as a whole, this definitely brought out something else inside of me. I found myself, especially during the clean stuff, doing a lot of funk and stuff like that, but I was going for a little bit darker voicings because I felt like it matched this guitar really well, especially clean. And speaking of the cleans themselves, there's one thing that it's not just this guitar that kind of has this issue, in my opinion. It's a lot of guitars that have the push-pull on the factory kind of pickups. Well, in this case, the Seymour Duncans. When you're in the single coil mode and you pop it in to the full humbucker mode, there is a huge increase in volume. And when you're playing live, that is something you have to kind of account for to an extent. And as far as tracking with it, that's an absolute no-go. If I was going to be using the single coils on an instrument like this, I would record all the parts that I needed to with the single coils, just be done with it, and then punch in secondary tracks that would have the humbucker mode engaged. Because for me, that volume drop is pretty serious when you're going down the single coil, and the volume boost when you're going back in the humbucker, it's extremely noticeable. And right before we started the playthrough of this, I mentioned I was unsure of how much space I felt like I was going to have on the upper frets. Granted, I didn't do much actual playing up there or soloing. I don't have the biggest hands, but there were times I was kind of overreaching by a fret, and I don't know, I'm used to even playing PRS guitars, custom 24s that also have 24 frets. I think that extra 1/4 of an inch, just personally, for me, not being used to it, it's something you would have to adjust to 100%. If you're somebody that has bigger hands, this might not be kind of the way to go for a 24 fret guitar. Maybe one of the Horizons or something like that has a longer scale length and also the 24 frets might be better suited for you in that case. But the neck is a little bit thin, you know, it's an ESP thin U, so obviously I'm not talking about anything the vintage Fender kind of specs in that sense with the thickness of it, but it's not like a shredder typical neck in a way. It doesn't remind me of a wizard neck, really, is what I'm trying to get at here. Excuse me for mouth vomiting, but it's comfortable. The fret ends are very, very, very smooth on this. This was a very nice playing experience to them. And overall, this is a guitar that I would put into the PRS category of, I could play this tonight, right now. I don't need to set this thing up. If I had to have a call to play a gig, to play some rock or a little bit of hard rock or even metal, I would have no problems taking this guitar out as is and really playing it. And that says a lot because I didn't adjust a damn thing on this guitar out of the box except tuning it. And it took a lot of fighting off the temptation to play a lot more of the heavy gain kind of stuff, but I figure anybody who buys one of these or is looking to buy one of these, the majority of the demos, these things are in drop tuning. There's almost no clean tones, and if they are, they're so processed with the choruses and all the delays and the effects like that. I kind of wanted to see if this thing would be a little bit more versatile because I had assumed, and I was right of course, that this thing would absolutely rip with gain because that's what these things are really well known for, and it did not disappoint. But to sum this thing up, if you're somebody that wants a guitar that can do a lot of different things very well, is very well balanced, reliably built, playable almost straight away out of the box for most people, this is going to be tough to beat. And when you consider just how upgraded this thing is, and that's one thing I really appreciate about ESP when they do their kind of budget lines. I know that these things have gone up in value a lot, but when you look at the current market, even look at a Les Paul Studio, this thing is much better equipped. Granted, one's made in America and one is made in Indonesia, but the quality control of this, I mean, it's fantastic. I've not seen too many people with issues when it comes to this brand having DOA electronics or bad craftsmanship. It's not a brand that's really dogged on for that, and it's for good reason, and it's not a reputation that you can easily get, especially when you've been around as long as ESP has. They thrive, they have their niche, but I feel like more people should maybe give them a chance, and I'm really happy and I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to play this guitar. Maybe in the future, I still don't think I can get past this headstock for me personally, but maybe in the future they do make another model that looks a bit more traditional. That's a T-style. I believe it's the TE 1000. Comes in a snow white, got a pickguard, Fishman Fluence pickups in it and a rounded kind of headstock. I don't know. If I can get my hands on one of those for a deal like I got on this one, you might be seeing that on the channel. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Were you surprised by any of the tones on this, or is it pretty much par for the course, exactly what you expected? Leave a like on the video if you enjoy the content on this channel. I work hard to try and entertain you guys. I know life is tough, and it's fun to do things like this to take our minds off of all of it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you mañana for a different guitar-related video. Take it easy, everybody.